Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of The Kitchen. And before I get into what I'm going to be talking about today, which is very exciting and very healthy for us, but not going to overdo it, I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I got onto this week. So I was absolutely blown away last Friday. I went to go deliver the Rollins Scholarship Fund Award to the recipient this year. And their program blew me away. I was 10 feet inside the door. So I went in. Mikia Kiersky runs the program that she is in charge of the staff who are in charge of training the students who come through this program at DC Central Kitchen. Now, DC Central Kitchen started out years ago, and primarily they were feeding homeless shelters, and they've since grown and decided to feed more people, and now they have almost 30 contracts in the DC school system. They have healthy corners where they go into food deserts where you don't frequently find fruits and vegetables, and they deliver fruits and vegetables for people to purchase, and they're setting up their own cafe. Their new building is absolutely beautiful, and they have a cafe in there. They even have a little section for a podcast set up in the front, so I'm eyeing for that. But I was blown away by their mission is that they only accept, I should say only accept, right? What they are looking for are people who are disengaged. So maybe they're not in school, they're struggling trying to find a job. Maybe they just got out of prison, they had a felony conviction and can't get work. They've had family issues, drug addiction, trauma, sexual assault. These are all sort of the applicants to come into this program. And I got to, not only did I get to deliver the scholarship fund that will go into a piece of training mindset component for her staff, but I got to see the graduating class, which was absolutely amazing to see the pride and the achievement in these faces, their actions. They had become such a tight knit, unit. And so the staff was telling me, like, we should have seen day one. This one didn't talk, and this one was angry, and everybody was kind of nipping at each other. And what a transformation. The program's 14 weeks, and they leave with culinary skills. They have partners. The program has partners where they can go in and I don't know if they rent it or if it's given to them, but they have the opportunity to go in and get maybe a suit jacket for some of the guys to go out on an interview, or appropriate business wear for some of the women that are involved in the program. It was just really a beautiful community, and the just pure joy of accomplishment and actually feeling good about themselves and what they had accomplished was, I was tearing up. My mom was tearing up again now. I was so moved. And so now, while I was there, I was talking to somebody involved in the program, and they're looking to incorporate food as medicine. So not only do they want to try to, train and give culinary skill sets to these people who, and it was like, I don't know the time frame, but it was an 85% job placement from their program. So just amazing. They're doing amazing work. And now they want to incorporate this food as medicine thing, which of course I love. And so in addition to their culinary sets, they're going to now learn a little bit about, like, why do we think salmon is a good choice, or why do we want to add fennel, or why do we want to use garlic, or why do we want to add cinnamon, and what about fermented foods? And they're really they're looking into incorporating that into their market that they're opening, but also into some of the culinary classes. So I'm really excited. So this week you're going to hear me talk a lot on social media about DC Central Kitchen, because they're just mind blown with their mission and what they're able to achieve, to see people. One of the quotes that they had, they got awards, some of them for standouts, and one of the gentlemen who had graduated previous classes was now out and working, and he had really been down on his luck. He'd been right at the beginning of COVID. He'd been in a car accident. he kind of left out, left out some of his details in this story. But one thing led to another, and he lost his job. He had no money. And he said that jail had become a revolving door for him. He felt worthless and he was a failure and he was never going to accomplish anything. And now he's gainfully employed and he was selected as their employee of the month. And we're all just tearing up, and it's just to see that, and you can just feel what that is. So his quote was, that this program was willing to invest in me before I was willing to invest in me. And I thought, we need more of that. I think it works a lot better with human beings when you invest time and caring and give people tools to build themselves up rather than to just, do one of these and turn a blind eye. So that is kind of my, shared mission with people and mindset. And so I cannot say enough, and I won't say enough on social media this week, you'll see. So this week in the kitchen, I want to do a little, just a brief talk about food as medicine. So I have two things that I just grabbed quickly out of my kitchen here. I'm gonna spin you guys over, show you my big layout, right? So kind of get you in there. Okay, so maybe I'll just keep it up here and I'll hold it up for you. That guys get the picture. So cinnamon sticks. I always keep a giant bag of cinnamon sticks around. They don't really go bad. What's in here? Cinnamon, nothing else, right? So that's great. So these are pretty versatile. You can just use them as decor if you're like, I don't know what else to do with them. Stick them in something and they look kind of great, right? But you can crack these up, which is what I often do. I kind of just break them. And this, I will kind of zoom in and show you that they just kind of, break up into sticks. And then, of course, when I do make my turmeric cinnamon tea, this is how I do it. And then I grate my turmeric in there, which is a root. And my kids think it's hilarious. They're like, you are literally brewing sticks and roots, like, and you're drinking that. That's ridiculous. So anyway, they made it with so much love, but it's delicious, and you can just do the cinnamon in a little bit of hot water. I use a metal bowl, just so I don't have to worry about plastics or cleaning if it stains anything. So I just use it in a little metal bowl, and then I always leave the cinnamon in the metal bowl with a little bit of water and let it steep extra as I strain it out, keep a little bit in there. And as that cinnamon steeps a little bit more, it becomes sweet. So I remember when I first discovered this, I had made a big batch and I'd left it out, overnight, and I went to go get my, next batch. And I was like, did one of you people sneak sugar into this? And they were like, no, psycho. And so I did it again, and I realized that the cinnamon actually becomes it almost tastes sweet when you let it steep a little bit longer. So if you like that sweetness and you don't want the sugar, cinnamon is excellent. It has a very insulin-like effect in the body. So it does give off this sweet taste, but it also helps regulate our blood sugar. So if that's something that maybe you're borderline about, you don't want to just incorporate a little cinnamon in there. So you can do a cinnamon tea. You can just do, like I said, cinnamon sticks. And then I brought this out because you can also, let's grab another stick here. I don't really have a dish to shave it into, so you'll get the point. You can just shave it over the top. You can be very fancy. Give yourself a little bit of a cinnamon top on something. Sometimes in the wintertime, we're moving out of that, but giving a little cinnamon on top gives a nice flavor to it, makes it a little bit more fall and warm. So if you do have a rainy day in the spring, I was just talking with a friend about lacrosse season, and you're standing out there and it's March and April and you're like, freezing. So that might be a good day for, some roasted vegetables with some grated cinnamon on top. All right, so the other thing that you may have saw when I had that is I have some black beans here. So I have black beans that are dried in the bag. I love these. And I also love these. And these are black beans in the can. People get into what should I have? What is better? Whichever is easier for you to do. If you're like, oh, but I don't want to soak the beans. Honestly, you open the bag and you pour it into a bowl of water, and then you just sit it on the counter. You don't have to do anything. It does it all by itself, right? So it's not that much of a big deal. But if that is presenting an obstacle for you to incorporate beans into whatever you're doing, you can always just get a can opener and open a can. And I always rinse them out just because of the brine. Sometimes, let's see what we have here, sodium here. Sodium is 24%, so I do want it, and you can get low sodium if you want. But some of them, these are seasoned. So I purposely got these already seasoned. So, but I will still rinse them because it'll still keep some of that brine and flavor on the bean, and it's absorbed into the bean just because of the ultra high heat processing that it goes through. So some of it is in there. So I did get that for a recipe on purpose, but you can get them unseasoned and you can get low sodium if you want. And you can really add black beans to anything. And I think I have a recipe this week because I think beans were one of the things. They're filled with fiber, phytonutrients. They keep you full longer because they take longer to digest. They're excellent for your digestive tract. They do the way that the body breaks it down, the microbes that need to work on those beans also help with your digestive tract and keep it in good health, which is also part of the issue for some people. They have issues with a little gas with the beans, but that's part of the healthy process, believe it or not. Those microbes that are working on those fibers and starches, and they release gas, and then so do we. So anyway, just maybe if you're one of those people that really is susceptible to those kind of things, you know, make the dish or eat the dish alone, right? Just warn people, whatever it is. So I do have a recipe coming out this week, and how to use these black beans, whether you decide to soak them or use them in the can, super easy. So those are two examples of food as medicine, right? So they are treating something for health, right? So our beans are treating our gut health. Cinnamon can help us lower blood sugar. So that's what we consider food as medicine, medicinal foods. Okay, there's all these other terms that people throw around, like functional foods, nutraceuticals, that's a little bit different. But food as medicine is something that, you know, blows my mind because we eat food to stay alive, to be healthy. We need calories, we need carbohydrates, we need proteins, we need fats, we need all three of those things. We need them in the right amounts. And the foods that are natural and whole have medicinal purposes because we evolved to eat those foods. I know, shocker, we did not evolve to eat processed foods or fast foods, things that are convenient and shelf stable. We just didn't evolve that way. And so some of those foods, additives, preservatives, chemical compounds can cause a lot of, you know, disruption in our body and cause a lot of disease. However, whole foods, food in general, is our medicine. So there are definitely certain things that we can include to keep us healthier. Ginger for circulation, horseradish is good, and I can go on. But if you're eating a whole food, salmon, omega-3s, and avocados and things like that, walnuts, right? You know, we're getting our trace minerals, we're getting phytonutrients, beets, you know, tart cherry. So all of these foods are food as medicine. So if you have an ailment and you can eat a little bit more of that food, potentially you will have a little bit less of that symptom, and, you know, depending on where you are in that disease state, you can eliminate it, or at least you can decrease it a little bit. So if you're, you know, blood pressure. There's a couple of different things with blood pressure. So you might not be able to eat foods that will like completely eliminate your hypertension, but you can incorporate foods that might be able to decrease some of your medicine. And that's always a goal because any medicine is going to come with a side effect. Food, wholesome foods, typically don't. Okay, don't get me going on the rabbit hole spiral that I tend to go into on pesticides and things like that, because today's a good day and we're talking about people building each other up and food as medicine. So maybe another time we'll get into that rabbit hole. But for today, please do look for the black bean recipe that I have going on this week. Check out the socials. There'll be little pieces and recipes and other little tips talking about food as medicine, and maybe a little bit of mindset, just because that's what we're doing up there at DC Central Kitchen. And amazing if you're in that area. I encourage you to stop by and check it out. Mind blown, like I said, amazing. So thank you guys for joining me on this episode of The Kitchen, and I look forward to seeing you next time.